Greetings, all Shardvixen here, and today it is all about the isms. Isms. So, ism is a Greek suffix, and originally you put ism with a noun to make a verb. So, you have race, ism, sex, ism. But that's not all it means. Elitism. It also means that it's a doctrine or a way of belief or a cultural concept as a way of belief. There's an actual definition for it, and I'm going to read it right now. You get the beautiful side of my head. Okay, so it's going to be up to at the beginning. It will have been there and probably, or maybe at the end I'll put it. I don't know. My shoulders really bother me. My hips are really bothering me. Today I'm in a lot of pain. I should move things around so we get a different background. My curtains are just... Alright, so enough of a tangent. So it says, the formation of nouns denoting action or practice, state or condition, principles, doctorates, the usage of characteristics, devotion, and adherence. Boy, that's a lot of gobbledygook, isn't it? So, basically, you take something, you put an ism on them, and it's kind of an action against that thing. So, racism, an action against race. Sexism, an action against sex. Elitism is not actually a action against elite, but against everyone who isn't elite. So, that's kind of a misnomer there. Anyway, so what I really want to talk about is elitism, because we talk about, people say, oh, I'm not racist, or I'm not sexist. Yeah, that works better. I think my elastic is getting kind of... And I'm not a separatist, and I'm not this and that. But technically, the nature of the culture of human beings in groups is to be a separatist. Okay, so we have a group. I need something for a group. I'm not well prepared today. So we have a group of fish. Whoop, 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 whoop. Right? Then we have a group of... Hang on. Not fish. Right? Now, at one time, both of these came from the same source. Not really. If this was plastic, that would be a better example. But we're going to pretend this is plastic because it's not. It's glass. So one time, they all lived together happily. And then somehow, for some reason, these people who are like this and these people who are like this decided to separate. The moment they separated, there's a reason why these guys are here and these guys are here, and why these guys who are all here all kind of look like this person, and these person here all kind of look like that person. Though sometimes there's no likeness in the groups like that. It's not a physical likeness. It's a belief or a doctorate that kind of runs them in that direction. The best example that I've ever seen about elitism is, which everyone says is racism, but it's really elitism because they're all kind of the same race, right? Which you can have racism within the same race, is the Sneetches by Dr. Seuss. So you had those with the stars upon theirs and those who had no stars, right? And there was a separation, a clear separation between those who had stars and those they didn't. And then when what's-his-name shows up, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, shows up and offers a way to put stars on the other Sneetches' bellies. Then the other ones without the stars want them off because it's not about the stars. It's about elitism. It's about being the one or the ones with the thing that everyone else wants. Got a little dark outside, so clouds are moving around, so my light's kind of shifting off and on. Alright, so most of our problems come from elitism. And elitism is seen in different ways. Sometimes it's seen in harmless ways. They seem harmless, but then people get carried away and roll with the ball. So an example of that is nationalism. Now, it's okay to be patriotic and proud of your country. I am very patriotic about being American. Not necessarily not necessarily always proud of my country. I don't know that we've always made great choices, and that has to do with nationalism, elitism, and lots of other kind of isms like empirism, things like that. So I'm not always proud of that concept, the same way as I'm not always proud about being white. I mean, I'm proud to be me, but not about my skin color. It has nothing to do with whether I'm white, pink. I'm not white, I'm pink. I'm this weird, peachy, weird off color, and red. I've got some red there. You know, I've got a light brown, freckles, because I'm technically a redhead. And racism is always a touchy subject to talk about. One reason, because being that I am part of the white culture, I am up on the top and don't have to experience as much of a racism or elitism. But as a female, I experience a lot. Now, I don't experience probably as much as, say, someone who is of a different ethnic race than white, and then me as not being a female. So it's probably like this. I mean, there's always going to be people below you, and there's always people above you, especially in elitism. When you have to separate yourself, then there's things. But separating is a normal, natural state. It's not always a positive thing. It's just a normal, natural state. There's a activity that when you do communications in schools or communication in businesses that you do. So when you have a big business or a big group of people who don't really know each other really, really well, right? And you want to get them to know each other quickly, one of the things you do that kind of takes away elitism is you create groups that are different than the groups that are under the elitism concept. So there are so many examples of elitism that people don't even think about, okay? But in this group, so what you do is, say you got 100 people. It could be anybody. I don't care. You can even keep them all same sex, the same. It doesn't matter. It still works. And you have each person write down one thing or 3 things. Sometimes it's better to have 3. The more things you have, the better it is. So I usually do 3. 3 things, but you can do it with 1 for sake of time. 3 things about them that they don't think anybody knows about. It doesn't have to be weird secrets like, you know, I picked my nose in my room or things like that. You can. I mean, it's not a big deal, but I don't know that how many people are going to admit to that kind of stuff. Then you put those cards, you take them all back, you put them in a basket, and you make everybody stand up on the line against a wall or someplace, and you clear all the tables and chairs, if that's what you had, out. And you start it out like this. Everyone who's an oldest child, step forward. So people step forward. Everyone who's been married, step forward. And it depends on the age of your group that you're doing it with. So if you have a group that is under 18, marriage is probably not going to be a common occurrence depending on where you're at. And it's fine. And you don't want, like I said, you don't want hurtful secrets, because you don't want somebody else out there going, ha ha ha, so-and-so does this, and picking on them. Because it does open up a bit of a trust thing. Though it has been seen that those people who participate in this activity tend to bond amongst themselves. Because that's another type of elitism. I was part of this group, and you weren't. I was part of this huge group that got together, and we learned so much about each other. But you weren't there, so you're not part of it. I'm part of Girl Scouts. I'm part of Boy Scouts. I'm a part of the basketball team. I'm part of the American, what is it? It's the women who can trace their lines back to the Mayflower. Can't remember the name of the group because I got an invite, but I can't trace myself back that far. That's an elite group. I mean, and so you're going to say, well, I'm part of those groups. Is that bad? No, I'm not saying it's bad. What I'm saying is we have to be aware of that when we're talking about isms and that people are saying, I'm feeling like, you know, you guys are against me because I don't have that. Then we have to think about elitism and where it comes from. If you look at history, elitism has been the major cause of many wars and empire falling and people feeling persecuted against, in horrific ways and then in subtle ways. If you look at women's rights, that's a lot of elitism. Yes, it's sexism, but it's also elitism, because not only are they saying that they're better because they're male, right, or stronger, or whatever it is they're saying, people say when they have an argument, because I get arguments like it all the time, being I'm female, and an intelligent female versus an intelligent male, or worse, a person who's not as intelligent or doesn't make good concept choices, or is unable to make those big bounce of logic leaps. I don't use the word stupid, but we could say people who may seem stupid, because some people who seem stupid have really great common sense, and some people who are really intelligent have no common sense. But when we talk about the psychology of it, okay, so that's my background. My background is the psychology, culturology, and which is anthropology. The anthropology, the sociology of it, and the psychology of it. Okay, we are raised in cultures, in family units, to have certain prejudice. That's just the way the family is. Now, even in an open family, sometimes there's subtle isms, subtle elitisms. Because if you, again, there goes clouds and the lighting. If you say, I am open to everything, and that makes me such a great person, there's that elitism. It makes me such a great person, because you're not a good person, because you're not open to everything. So it can be kind of like falling into a weird rabbit hole, like a trap, more likely. Because if you travel back to try to figure out where this all happened and all started and how do we fix it, it's very problematic. Because if you look at the United States was built as a colony by people that were trying to get away from elitism. They wanted the ability, but in the process of getting away from the elitism, they created more elitism, because they wanted the ability to do what they wanted to do in their group. So the outlaws, the rebels, the people, but they still had their own concept of elitism. And they perpetuated that elitism with slavery and indenturism, and those who had it and those who did not, like those who own land, those who did not own land. You know, there's always been a clear cut between that. And then when you look at industrialism, that makes it even bigger, because it's those who own the company and those who work in the company. Doesn't matter anything else. So when you look at these big, huge lists that we have for isms, it all comes back to elitism. Nationalism is not really a good thing. Patriotism is. But patriotism can also be very elitism. So you have to be careful about, if you want to be a whole person, well, not a whole person, that's the wrong way to say it. If you want to be more enlightened and have compassion and empathy for other people, there has to be a point where you stop and say, oh, my problem is I'm stuck in this elitism. If you don't think you're racist, though everybody has a bit of it in them, okay, because our culture kind of builds that up. And so we have to learn to not look at the skin color, but then other people want to see the skin color. So there's that weird kind of, I see you as this person who is also this, and I applaud you for being that way, but I'm not going to make any judgment calls based on it. So when you take elitism and then you take stereotypes, that's when you start having issues and problems, and people are like, why are you this way, and why do you do that? It comes to mind is that one day I was doing a communication group for a bunch of people, and I had two young ladies who were of Native American descent. And one, her family was very into the culture. They made dream catchers, they did rugs, they were very into rituals, stuff that they did of their religion. Then another one was not. And her family didn't want nothing to do with it. They could, they felt they were more white than they were Native American. And so we were sitting down and we were getting to know each other in this group, and it upset the young lady whose family was so rooted in their culture that here was another Native American girl who was not that way. And she couldn't let it go. She thought that she was really upset. She wanted this person to embrace their ancestry. Well, the other person was like, I don't know what your problem is. That is kind of an elitism as well. And the issue that you start having when you have these things, that it seems like a good thing, but the moment you have to push it on somebody else and it takes you away from the group and creates its own group, then it's not always a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It just puts a wedge, sometimes can put a wedge in between communications. Another example of that is also where I was going, was that this young lady brought in how to make dream catchers, and the other young lady didn't want anything to do with it. She was like, that's not me, I don't care. And it put a wedge between them, because the second young lady was like, not all people who are of Native American descent make dream catchers. Not all people of Native American descent like horses. Not all people of Native American descent do dances. And she was really upset that somehow this other girl was making it seem like everyone that was Native American had to do that. And that goes across the board at every place. What I kind of told her, though, is that I don't think that the other girl meant to say that she wasn't, that you had to be this way. It was just that she didn't understand why she wasn't more connected to her ancestry. And a lot of people are not connected to ancestry. I mean, I remember my grandmother telling me that you didn't say you were German during World War II. That was, in the United States, that was kind of a no-no. A lot of people changed their names. A lot of people didn't want anything to do with that. Same thing with Russian people. A lot of people during the Cold War were very leery in the United States about saying they were Russian, or socialist, for that matter. A lot of people were very, you had to be careful about that whole saying you were interested in socialism, because people would make a jump and say, you're this way, and people didn't want to be labeled like that. On the same token, just because I'm German or have German, ancestry in me, doesn't mean I know how to speak German. I don't know how to speak Germany either. Or I don't know how to, I don't know any cultural thing from Germany. Nobody in my family celebrated it. I only know that I'm Russian. I have Russian in me because I'm a Tay-Sachs carrier. I'm actually a Russian and Ukrainian in me. So I only knew that because I found out I was a Tay-Sachs carrier. And they had to do a genetic thing on me to find out what other races I might have that carries that. So when someone says I'm not racist, my first immediate thought is, well, you may not be racist, but you might be elitism. So do you have stereotypes or things that you don't like? And you have to think about the words that you say out of your mouth. That subtle elitism that kind of makes for a break. So, but I don't know. I'm not in those people's shoes, so maybe not. This is just an observation. It's just my own opinion. It's being open-minded and mindful of those around you. So that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about. Kind of weird ramble about isms. I try not to have isms in my life, but by nature, it kind of works that way. I want to be open-minded and open up my doors. I can't understand where everybody is and where they stand on what side of the fence, but you can educate me. If I'm doing something wrong, you can educate me about it, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Anyway, so I'll catch you on the flip side. Next week is a rambling video. I don't know what I'll be rambling about. Have a lot of things bounce around inside my head. Maybe it'll be a channel checkup. I don't know. Anyway, so have a great day. And I'm out of here.